back everyone to another episode of the Lodhi Round Up. I am your host Majid Lodhi. I have been in the real estate industry for almost a decade and practiced mainly in Toronto, York and Durham, but I've done business all over the GTA. Before I start today, I have a request. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or watching it on YouTube, please make sure that you like and subscribe to my channel. It will mean a lot to me. And now that that's out of the way, let's move on to the fun stuff. Last week, I discussed a project with someone in one of my coaching programs, and it really caught my attention. I looked into the project more, and then I'm like, you know what? I have to get this project in front of my people. I wanted to do a webinar, but it was easier and faster for me to do a podcast. So here we are talking about the opportunity, and what we're going to do is talk about what is happening in the GTA, Durham, and most importantly in Pickering. But before I discuss about the topic of the podcast today, let me introduce the guest. Let's first learn a little bit about him, and let's ask him what's happening in Pickering while we're shooting this podcast. So Blake, welcome to the Lodhi Roundup.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for letting us do the podcast here and present the opportunity to people. Last week when I was talking to Charles and he was talking about the project, it really intrigued me. There was many factors, but the main thing was about the price.
It's an exceptional offering here. You know, we take pride in having a building that we competitively priced with the resale market. You know, something where you're able to secure an asset that won't be delivered for the next 4 to 5 years at the same cost as something you'd have to get a mortgage on in the next 60 to 90 days. There's a ton of value in that free leverage, and that's why we're so excited about this project here today.
100%. And before we actually get into the opportunity or the project, the builder, who is Blake? Let's first get to learn more about Blake a little bit more.
My name is Blake Robinson. I am the sales manager here at RDS. We are one of the leading sales and marketing companies throughout the GTA's pre-construction industry. I've been in the industry for the last 17 years in some way, shape, or form, and I love pre-construction.
Yeah, the GTA market is ever changing, and I know over the last decade that I've been in the game, and I still feel like I'm a newbie in the game because things are always changing, right? So over the last decade, I've seen a lot of changes, and especially now over the last few years in Pickering, there's been a lot of things happening. And we'll talk about 1515 as to what's happening here, why Pickering, and why this project.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the growth within the region is, immense. It's an area that is skyrocketing both in population and in property values. And that's part of the reason why we chose this specific site to bring to the market in today's data market.
100%. And I know last week when I was having this chat with Charles, he had a very well laid out presentation deck, right? And I know we're going to be sharing that with the viewers today. So we'll get into that and see how the conversation goes. But I know there's a lot of information that's packed in the presentation deck, and a lot of people will be interested in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't we dive right in
100%. Let's do it.
You know what? We'll get started with why we're so excited about this specific development here at 1515 Pickering Parkway with Savoy Developments. And we'll start with why we chose this project. I just alluded to it, briefly a moment ago, with the fact that it's so competitively priced with resale and the amount of growth in the area. And that's part of the reason why this one is something that we wanted to bring to the market today. So just to give you an idea of the developer here, this is a developer that has a long history of delivering quality product throughout the GTA. They've been in the business for over 60 years. They built over 30,000 homes. They are the largest landowner in the Durham region, and they built more homes in Pickering than everybody but Mattamy. So, this is a group with an outstanding reputation and a long history of delivering quality product. And they have a number of projects that they could have brought to the market today, but they were really excited about this one. And let's dive into exactly why this is such a unique opportunity. And let's start off by talking about what's going on in the condo market and what's going on across the country. So on this left Y-axis here, you're going to see condo sales throughout the GTA. This is new condo sales, pre-construction sales here. And on the right y-axis, you're going to see Ontario's population growth. I mean, at a very quick glance, it doesn't take a long look, and you're able to see that new condo sales are currently at a low. And Ontario's population growth is currently at a high. So this is creating this sort of perfect storm for the investors that have the foresight to act now with an eye towards the future, to be able to really take advantage of the incentives and offerings and low pricing that we haven't seen in the GTA's condo market in a very, very long time. And they're going to be the ones that are able to reap the benefits and rewards of having that foresight and that intuition to act now. See, if we look at it, Canada right now is the fastest growing country in the G20, which essentially means that it is the fastest growing country in the world. And Toronto is the fastest growing city in North America, and for good reason. I mean, Canada has a great passport to hold. It's third globally in quality of life. It's the 9th largest economy in the world. Toronto is the second safest city in the world, only to Copenhagen, Denmark. It has the second fastest growing tech market in North America, second only to North Carolina, with more startups than Silicon Valley. And Toronto is a safe and clean city, and with the second largest financial center only to New York. So this is a world-class city in so many ways. And what we've found doing our research is that while Canada is the fastest growing country and Toronto is the fastest growing city, it is the areas around the major cities that are experiencing the most growth currently. And that will provide a great segue to this project here. So if we look at population growth throughout the country over the years, and you see a bit of a blip on the radar in 2020 as a result of COVID, population growth slowed. Now, the government has placed a huge mandate on increasing population size since, and you can see that in 2023 alone, we welcomed nearly 1.3 million new residents to the country. So this brings us to the next subject at hand here, which is supply. Because as an investor, a general principle is supply and demand. When the supply is low, the demand is typically high. And what this here is tracking is how many condos are set to be delivered on an average year. And you can see that this goes back to 2010 to give you an average of how many condos have been delivered. Once a building is under construction, we're able to accurately predict how many units will be delivered on a given year. And how many times have we heard over the last 10 years, we're in a housing shortage? Housing shortage is all we hear. Well, that's what we've been delivering, 20 to 25,000 condos a year. See, this year, we are delivering 50,000 new condos. I mean, we've had the most active building cranes over the last few years, and it's at a record high for the amount of condos coming to the market. But that's about to change. It's about to change quickly. See, as a result of those slower condo sales over the last couple of years here, you start to see those numbers take a dip. So in next year, you will see that number is nearly cut in half at 28,000. And that number gets cut in half again in 2026, with only 13,000 condos slated to be delivered, which is well below the 10-year average. Now, where things start to get really scary, where it rears its ugly head, is in 2027. There are only 3,000 condos that are going to be delivered in 2027. And that number is essentially fixed. Because if I did start construction tomorrow, I can't build it in 3 years. It's going to take 4 to 5 years minimum for a development from start to finish as far as construction is concerned. So what we're looking at here is that Canada and Ontario's population growth is about to be at an all-time high, and the new condo supply is about to be at an all-time low. And keep in mind that condos represent over 80% of the new homes delivered in the GTA on a yearly basis, and they have been since 2005 when the Places to Grow Act was instituted. Now, a huge reason for the condo sales being at an all-time low at the moment is interest rates. Interest rates have been coming up. And if we look at it over the last 20 years, as interest rates come up, property values go down. As interest rates go down, property values go up. Now, we just saw our first rate cut in the last 4 years. And if you look at the top 5 banks, RBC, BMO, CIBC, Scotia, TD, they all projected that first rate cut would happen exactly when it did. And they're all in line in their thinking that rates are coming down and that we will see them hover somewhere around 3% by the end of 2025. Whether you are TD, who is the most aggressive, stating it will be somewhere just over 2%, or whether you are Scotia, the most conservative, who thinks it'll be somewhere just over 3%. The consensus here is that rates are going to start gradually coming down, and they will hover somewhere around 3% by the end of next year. And what have we seen over the last 20 years? When interest rates come down, pricing comes up. Once again, this provides that opportunity for the investors that are willing to act now to really take advantage of all of this growth. So we looked at how Canada is the fastest growing country in the world and how Toronto is the fastest growing city in North America. Well, that brings us to a great segue as to why we chose this specific project here. Because Durham is the fastest growing region in the GTA. See, if we look at cities across Ontario, there's another rapidly developing city in Hamilton. Hamilton currently has more active building permits than anywhere else in Ontario. And they have added 50,000 new residents over the last 20 years. Durham has welcomed 60,000 new residents since 2019 alone. Like, the population growth here is off the charts. And as a result of this huge population growth here, we're seeing prices go up in a significant manner. Because despite the increase in population, we haven't seen the supply catch up, with just under 2,000 new homes in 2011 to just over 4,500 new homes in 2023. So the supply isn't catching up to the demand. And as a result, we are seeing price appreciation at a significant manner here, because price has gone up by 31% since 2020 alone. And we have also seen average annual rental growth of 6% a year since 2018. I mean, we deal with a lot of investors on a daily basis that take a look at a pre-construction price list and they say, well, that's not going to cash flow. Well, you know, when you run a pro forma and you show them 31% over the next 4 years at today's price, along with 6% annual rental growth, those numbers start to look really good. So part of the reason that this neighborhood is growing as rapidly as it is because this is a designated urban growth center. So back in 2005, the Places to Grow Act was put in place. And this is something that changed how our new homes are delivered in the province of Ontario and in the GTA. See, it used to be that 80% of our new homes would be low-rise. It became less feasible to build out. So we had to start building up. And when this was put in place, they designated urban growth centers. And those areas, the significant ones, were downtown Mississauga, downtown Vaughan, and the Pickering City Centre. I mean, we've seen the changes that Vaughan has undergone over the last 10 years. I mean, I'm from Mississauga. I've seen the changes that have been going on over there for the last 20 years. You know, it's something that I always say when talking with, you know, prospective clients is, imagine if you bought in Vaughan 10 years ago. How much money would you have made? Imagine if you bought in downtown Mississauga or on Square One 20 years ago. Imagine if you bought 10 years ago. You would have made a lot of money. This is the opportunity to get in the ground level of a rising and budding city center that is about to take off. And when you own at 1515 Pickering Parkway, you are able to sell and rent to a very qualified local demographic in the future. You have a strong captive audience here available to you because the household incomes here are very high, second only to Vaughan, higher than Markham, Richmond Hill, and Mississauga. This gives you an idea of the people you're going to be able to sell and rent to in the future, and it's a very strong local demographic. So I mentioned that back in 2005, the Places to Grow Act was put in place, and this shaped how our homes are delivered across the province. And this is when these major urban growth centers were designated. So the mayor and the urban planners got together with what their vision of the city should look like. And this is what it looks like today. So you can see our site over here. We have a beautiful standalone building that's going to be coming to the market. And this is what the city is going to look like going forward. You can see it's a drastic change from what's presently available here today. And these are some of the players behind the developments. I mean, you have some of the largest developers in the GTA who have heavily invested into the Pickering City Center. There's a number of developments that are earmarked by the city of Pickering here for future partnerships with developers. You're gonna have over 50 towers between these future partnerships, the center court developments, and the tribute developments in this huge master plan community here just down the street. See, one of the unique things about our location here is that we're able to take advantage of all of that growth that's happening just down the street. We're off the beaten path of it. It's a little more quiet, got a little more room to breathe. Most importantly, we have beautiful, unobstructed views in every single direction, while also being walking distance to all of the amenities the city center has to offer. Because we are in the heart of the city center. We are a 3-minute walk to the mall. We are a 5-minute walk to the Go. And the Go is currently undergoing electrification. This is a $13.5 billion investment that is going to take the train speeds from 90 kilometers an hour to 140 kilometers an hour. That is a significant improvement. That is going to take you to Union Station in 35 minutes. They are also altering the intervals at which time the trains leave the stations. If you currently go and wait at the Go station, you're waiting half an hour for the next train. They are going to change the intervals, depending on the station you're at, between 5 to 15 minutes. And this station here is earmarked for 5-minute intervals. So you're going to have electric trains coming in and out of the stations much faster and much more frequently. This is a huge opportunity because if we look at it as a general rule, if you follow where the government is investing their money in placing infrastructure, and we also place our money in those locations, historically we have done very well doing so. And this is the opportunity to invest in a neighborhood that is undergoing this type of investment in infrastructure before it actually happens. Because once it is in place, property values rise significantly. And in addition to the electrification of the Go just down the street, we also have the future Durham Scarborough BRT. This is a massive opportunity here for our investors because we are a 7-minute walk to the future BRT. And once you're on it, it's a 7-minute ride to U of T's Scarborough campus, which has over 15,000 students and less than 1,500 beds. There's a huge housing crisis going on over there by the school, and this once again gives you an idea of the type of captive audience you have available to you here as an investor. There's a very wide captive audience available to you here. And once again, this is giving you the idea about investing before this transit is in place, because once it is, we've seen property values rise in a significant manner. And I mentioned that our location is unrivaled within this neighborhood for a number of reasons. One of those reasons being its beautiful, unobstructed views, because we are situated in between two beautiful established parks. And I use the word established for a reason, because typically in the rare parkside living opportunity that's offered in pre-construction, it's usually a small portion of the development that is donated by the builder to the city. Then the city has to build it in the future. There's a number of developments that have been occupied for the last 5 years where they're still waiting for the park. See, just like our residents don't have to live through a construction zone when they get the keys, they don't have to wait for these parks to be built. There is huge value in being able to enjoy these mature, lush green spaces from the very first day of occupancy. The building itself is 40 stories, contains 571 suites within it, and has over 12,000 square feet of amenities. And we started this presentation by talking about pricing. Well, we are proud to offer some of the most competitive pricing in the GTA condo market at the moment. See, the average resale condo throughout the GTA right now is just over $700,000.
I'm going to cut you off there. I know
Sure.
you have provided a chunk of good information and details, and it was, I think, rapid pace. And with the smart people talking, I've been told to just shut up and listen. So that's what I did, and I think the information that was provided was very useful. And I think I want to touch on some points just to bring it back, and
Sure.
then we'll get into the project as to why 1515, because I feel like there is tons of value, like we mentioned, in the price.
For sure.
But I think the overall area and Pickering itself. But I think the most important thing that you talked about was the Places to Grow Act, right? And we have seen the growth in Mississauga. We've seen the growth in BMC. Luckily, I've been part of the growth in both areas, and I've seen people eventually invest in those areas, and then the prices go up as they build more buildings, right? And the beauty behind Pickering right now is that they're doing that here, right? And I believe not a lot of people maybe know about how they're trying to just build up now and not out, because there's not much land left.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's government policy, right? So that's something where decision makers got together back in 2005, and it really shaped how our homes would be delivered in the future. And the numbers now, as far as new homes on a yearly basis, it's just over 80% of our new homes are now high-rise. And that is a significant change from the way things were delivered in the past. And it's important to watch government policy, along with infrastructure and where places are designated. So when the Places to Grow Act was instituted and these urban growth centers were put into place, what happened was you found that they were targeting areas not just for residential growth, but for employment and for infrastructure. And those are things that, as an investor, we watch as strong keys and fundamentals within an investment decision.
100%. And the other thing which you quickly mentioned, and we moved on in terms of the interest rate. So I know since the rate has dropped a week or 2 weeks ago, we have been having a lot more chats as people are finally seeing there's light at the end of the tunnel, and the rates will eventually come down. But when, as we mentioned, and as we know, when rates do come down, prices do go up. And you mentioned that in 2027, and that's why I'm a believer in the condo market, but in the pre-con market. And I believe the stats that you showed are quite eye-opening, that there will be a shortage eventually, because we haven't been building a lot, as I believe the population growth has been way more than the actual condos or houses or pre-construction properties that are being built.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we were still delivering the 20,000 condos a year that we have been for the last 10 years, that would not be enough. But because of a spike in interest rates and slowed condo sales over the last couple of years, there's only going to be 3,000 new units coming to the resale market in 2027. I mean, that's a huge problem. The fact is that the population is about to be at its highest, and the supply is about to be at its lowest. I mean, supply and demand, is a very simple investment strategy to follow. That when the supply is low, the demand is high, and you will see the prices reflect that.
And I think because of the supply and demand in 2027, the supply being low, it puts this project at a very good spot, because I think it is supposed to be delivered in approximately 2028.
Yes.
When we know that the supply is going to be low in 2027. And I think it's very easy to figure that out, because you can figure out how many cranes are up and how many units are being sold.
Yes, exactly. So you're able to project those numbers based on the buildings that are currently under construction. Once it's under construction, you're able to accurately predict how many units will be delivered in a given year. And I think one of the unique things about buying pre-construction or owning pre-construction today is that you're not taking a mortgage today. You're getting a payment plan that allows you to buy the future. You're buying the future and the growth of a particular city, like you can here, all the growth that's occurring in the Pickering City Center. You're able to take advantage of that without having to tie yourself to a mortgage today with these higher rates. It gives you time to, one, pay with that payment plan, and also experience the growth, where you're going to be able to, hopefully get your mortgage in a more friendly environment as far as rates are concerned.
Yeah, I don't know of any other investments where you can firstly leverage time
Yeah.
and leverage somebody else's money
Yeah.
to be able to grow your money.
No, and it's something that's unique to the pre-construction market that we have here in Toronto and the GTA. And that's why we've had so many building cranes over the last number of years. That's why we are the pre-construction capital of North America, because the way our banking system works allows our average resident here in the city to become an owner of a condo. So if you look at large cities in North America that you'll find in the States, it's usually like pension funds and large families that own all of the real estate, and that's why over 80% of the residents are renters within those cities. Where here, we're able to offer ownership to individuals by able to collect deposits and deliver product in future years. That's simply not possible due to the banking system in the United States, which is why Toronto has been such an attractive place to invest in the pre-construction market over the last number of years, and will continue to be so as well.
Yeah, I think fundamentally we are different, for example, in LA or other places in the States where in Toronto they are selling and then building.
Correct.
Right?
It's a drastic difference. So when you are, say, looking at a pre-construction building in LA or New York, they can't sell any units until they get the roof up. Once the roof's up, you can start selling.
Which is a huge difference in Toronto where
Huge
they
difference.
are getting zoned and then selling the project.
Correct.
Or selling the units up to an X% and then putting the cranes up because financing here works differently.
Yes, because of the banking system. So if you were to buy in, say, LA or New York, when the roof's up, now you've essentially removed the investment component of it, because you're going to be buying 6 months out to a year out really at most. Where here you're able to put a deposit down and allow that money to grow as the city grows over the next 4 to 5 years.
100%, and it gives a smaller investor or an average person who's working and wants to invest, gives them the ability to invest, because firstly you have the power of leverage, you have the power of time where you can buy a property now, close in 4 years, so you're able to save up. Plus, just basically having a strong fundamental in the market where we are a growing city.
Yes.
Right? Durham, the region where we are growing and it's the fastest growing in the GTA. And I think the point that you just mentioned, which will be huge, transit, right? They are, like you mentioned, improving, and it's a huge project for them to improve GO train systems. And it gets you to downtown so you can live in, so you can work in Toronto, live in Pickering, and be in Toronto in less than 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
Right.
Toronto is a world-class city in so many ways, as we've discussed, and that's why it's the fastest growing city in North America. But if there's one thing that it lacks compared to other international level cities, it's transit. Anytime that you have the opportunity to invest near transit and invest where the government is placing infrastructure, you're bound to do well from an investment perspective.
And the BRT, I think, is an added bonus right now. Because,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a dedicated bus line, right? So it's uninterrupted by car traffic, and that's huge. Some of the best transit systems that exist in the world are dedicated lines that are uninterrupted by car traffic, and that is also going to take you to a blue chip institution in the University of Toronto's Scarborough campus, which is something that our investors can definitely take advantage of.
Scarborough campus, and I think the Centennial College as well.
Yes,
those are all accessible now. So we are going the route that we should have done a few years ago, whereas in improving our transit and making it more accessible for people to work in the city, live outside, enjoy the urban life, but still having access to transit so they can get to
absolutely
downtown. Now, moving on, why 1515?
There are a number of reasons that I think we've gone over here. With the growth that you have within the region is hard to ignore, but then the location of the building itself is simply unrivaled within an area that is growing so rapidly. It's important to have a building that's off by itself, a little more quiet, has beautiful views. That's going to be reflected in the resale values. Because whether you're buying here to live in yourself or you're buying here as an investment with the intent to sell or the intent to rent it out, people will pay a premium for comfort, and we're able to offer that here with our special location that is a standalone building here off by itself.
And I think being strategically placed where it's only a 5-minute walk to the bridge and you can hop over and go to the GO station, which is, I think, a very nice feature, and basically not living in a construction zone where it's on the side and you have unobstructed views.
Absolutely. It's the best of both worlds here, where you are walking distance to all of the amenities that the city center has to offer, but you're off the beaten path of it. It's a little more peace and quiet for you to enjoy your private space at the end of the day after work.
100%. Now, we'll talk about the incentives that 1515 is offering, because I feel like that's in this market and for the project that have been released this year is a game changer, because it makes it more accessible for people to buy if they're first-time home buyers or invest if they need time to save.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, as far as pricing is concerned, you know, we are competitively priced with resale. And typically in pre-construction, as you know, you're going to pay about a 20% premium over the resale market for all the reasons we've discussed. You're buying a future, and as a result, you're going to pay a premium to do so. But this is that rare opportunity where you're able to secure an asset that won't be delivered for the next 4 or 5 years at the same cost as something you'd have to get a mortgage on in the next 60 to 90 days. So right now, 1 bedroom on the resale market averages $488,000 in the area. We're able to offer 1 bedrooms here from the 470s. So we've removed all speculation. If we did build this and you had to close it tomorrow, you've already done well. The fact that you have an additional 4 to 5 years of growth available to you makes this a no-brainer opportunity. And we're also able to offer the most attractive deposit structure in the GTA's pre-construction market right now, where we can offer a 15% deposit that is spread out over the course of 750 days. This is our traditional percentage-based deposit structure here. Or we're able to offer a monthly payment plan, which is an absolute game changer that will allow more buyers to enter the market. First-time buyers, you know, maybe the kid's getting a bit of help with their parents for the first payment, and then they can carry the rest, because we're taking $15,000 on signing, $15,000 in 30 days, and then $1,500 a month for a 1-bedroom. It is 20, 20, and 2,000 for a 1 plus den, and 25, 25, and 25 for a 2-bedroom. This is a game-changing deposit here that we are very excited about.
The starting price, I haven't seen that in the last decade. So I know when I got into the business, when I was doing my first couple of deals in pre-con Midtown, we saw prices like this. And being able to buy a unit at the resale value in pre-con, it's a huge luxury, I think, at this point, because it's not being offered anywhere else, right?
No.
Along with the deposit structure, now you have the ability, and that's what I know normally when we have these chats with either investors or buyers, we figure out what's your why. Why are you investing? Why are you buying? But we figure out what will suit their lifestyle, right? So we typically do a real estate action plan where we figure out what their goals are and what they want to do and how we can actually help them. We can't help everybody, but if we can help you, we put a plan together, right? And for somebody who is trying to save up and get in the market, the payment plans would be perfect once we figure out what their why is.
Absolutely. Right? No, it's a unique opportunity here, you know, where you're able to use that free leverage. You know, we've removed the speculation, you're able to take advantage of the growth, and you're able to do it with a monthly payment plan. It's 100%. A very unique opportunity that we have in front of us.
And let's talk about your capped levy. So I know when I was talking to Charles, he explained it really well.
Yes.
And I know that's a huge feature. When people are buying pre-con, you have to be careful with what your closing cost is. And you have to really, firstly, work with a pre-construction agent who knows how the deal is structured. Secondly, we got to work with a good real estate lawyer who is well versed in the pre-con world, but also understanding the closing cost, what comes with it, right to lease, if you're able to lease, and free assignment and capped levies.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, we're providing hard caps here on the DCs and the levies. It is important to...
Please elaborate on the hard caps, because I know there's a lot of jargon that gets thrown out.
Sure.
And I want to be clear with people because I know it's a huge advantage.
Yeah, so I think it's important to consult with a real estate lawyer during your 10-day conditional period, no matter where you're investing in the GTA condo market, and have a professional review the agreement, because not all cap development charges are the same. And there are a lot of developers that will either leave the previous levy uncapped or leave the increase on levies uncapped. And that's something that could leave you with higher closing costs than are desired. We are providing a hard cap here where we're capping the old DC, the new DC. It's something that we want to be upfront about what our closing costs are here, so you have a better idea as to what they're going to be like upon closing in 2028 or so.
100%. And it's good to work on a project, work with a builder that's transparent, so you know all your numbers, so you can plan for it and then eventually enjoy your investment.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, in terms of your assignment and right to lease, they are able to
Absolutely.
lease.
Those things are included as part of our opening incentives here in our preview stage of the project.
Perfect. I think we have given a lot of impactful information, and now we'll have the meaningful chats with our buyers, with our clients, to figure out if this suits them and how this will fit their portfolios, right? So if you're watching or listening to this and you want to know what the next step is, you can go to www.majidlodhi.com/1515 Pickering, where you can get all the floor plans, get all the renderings, brochures, and all the incentives that we talked about. And if you want to figure out if investing in real estate, or you want to figure out if this is the right project, or you want to learn about how to buy a pre-construction unit, you can book a call with me. Go to calendly.com/Majid Lodhi. All of this will be in the show notes for the podcast, and would love to talk more in detail about the project and how this is suitable for you. If this was valuable to you, please share it with your friends, your coworkers, your family, your partner, and let's connect and chat. See you next time.